There will be a light. Chief, can I get a little choir in this monitor? There's already. I'm just behind it. It's fine. That's okay. Okay. That'd be great. And choir for this, so I have to walk by the speaker. For the opening hymn, I would love to have like 2 sopranos and 2 basses over here, and 2 altos and 2 tenors right here. Because we're doing the "Oh, we give thanks, oh, we give thanks." It'd be nice to have like people standing in front of the section. So I could have 2 sopranos and 2 basses just join me over here. Great, fantastic. Come on, and then 2 tenors and 2 altos, just self-select. Yes, thank you, wonderful. Self-selecting. Yep, so like, this is the side. Yep.
This is directly.
So this is, yep, perfect. And then, and the idea of thank you, Sven, over bass. Good, Sven and Gerald are coming. So, this side will be the "Oh, we give thanks, oh, we give thanks," okay? And then this side will be "Come and, oh, we give thanks, come and go with me." That's your part, okay? Because on the screen, left part, left side, right side, that's gonna happen, so you just know which part you're singing. Great. And I'm going to tell the whole congregation this before we start. I'm not gonna we're not throwing them into the fire. I'm gonna say, we're gonna sing call and response, "Oh, we give thanks, oh, we give thanks," so you'll get another go at it. But you already know. Great job, guys. Thank you. That. Sure.
The congregation most likely know about singing, so if we all sing it.
I disagree with Travis. I think everyone will sing it, even if they're a little deer in the headlights when they sing it. Oh, yeah, yeah. Choir, can we just start? There will be a light one more time. We're just getting a monitor set. 3, 4. Thanks, choir. Now I have you in my ear, and it sounds nice. I can hear you coughing, too, though. Concord, please, have a stand. Okay. Somebody text Sharon to see if she's coming. We have Sharon's number. That'd be great because she's playing drums. It'd be nice for her to be here.
Travis, you have the ability to have the choir in that monitor if you want.
So much tuning.
It takes a whole village to raise one child. We all, everyone, must share the burden. We all, everyone, will share the joy. It takes a whole village to raise our children. It takes a whole village to raise one child. We all, everyone, will share the burden. We all, everyone, will share the joy.
Everyone, fully dead face. So, the sound is awesome. It sounds great, but make sure that you look like you sound, okay? You should probably be moving a little bit. If you're standing still, you might be doing it wrong. Your face should be like, hey, it takes a village, not it takes a village. A little bit angry, choir. Okay, let me switch it. You sing and then Jared can play. Oh, good. Trio. Sounds awesome. Yeah. Very good.
Running it again?
What if this was... like the Bowery getting ready. Bring your spears. Good. We're standing, and everything's very pleasant. I'll give you a ball.
takes a whole village to raise our children. It takes a whole village to raise one child. We all, everyone, will share the burden. We all, everyone, must share the joy.
It takes a whole village to raise our children. It takes a whole village to raise one child. We all, everyone, must share the burden. We all, everyone, will share the joy.
Yeah. I was listening for the drop. And
Yeah, bass has got there, but no one else was there yet. So basically, you may have skipped the system of bar 65. No one's never happened again. It sounds great. How's it good? This is good. So just like, as if like having good times, and you think it takes a village to raise a child. Like a thing. Great. Everybody, hold on. See you at 9:30.
oh, okay. Hey, John, if that happens again, just pull me up and I'm good. I can fake it. I was just not here.
I've been forced to knock out a conflict at 11 o'clock this morning.
Hey, how's it going? All right.
Back there is my Christmas series. Yeah, that's exciting. And it was nice to see really got excited.
I hate podiums. I really like them. Say good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. Hello.
And you don't have to lean towards it.
Oh, I don't.
No,
Okay.
it's going to catch you.
Okay, I can stand straight up and talk. Okay.
Yeah, so actually.
Stand up straight. Don't lean forward. Okay.
You want to start saying it?
Yeah.
have to move. So you just have to point that towards your mouth.
So just make sure it's sort of like in line with where
Do you know Jeep?
we've met. Well,
Letta.
I'm Letta.
Please meet you.
Pleased to meet you too. Yeah. Okay. So when I get up, I should adjust first. Good morning.
I'll try to remember to adjust this.
It's okay.
She's
Yeah.
picking me up right now.
That's how sensitive it is. It's like directional.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead.
So, good morning. My name is Letta Wu. I decided pretty young that church and religion were not for me. So, I stumbled along and tried on my own to confront big questions about life and meaning. Is this okay pace and volume?
Wonderful pace
Oh,
and
good.
volume.
Okay. Fast forward to me meeting the love of my life, who told me that Unitarian Universalism and their brief church attendance as a kid.
You told me about.
Told me about. Thank you.
Anyway, that's great.
Okay.
That's
Good.
great. Wonderful.
Okay. So thank
Yeah,
you
I
for
love
all
it.
the tips. That's
Yeah.
going to make me feel. And then I don't need to do anything about this.
No, I'm going to take it down.
Okay. Thank you.
I will sit over on this side.
Denial only goes so far.
How's it going? That's eerie. Purple color royalty,
It's my favorite.
Up like this, right?
Purple is, I mean, when you get to see, I mean, I've got so much purple going on.
I love it. First thing you have is where how's everything?
The demand on it, we did the first show last night. Awesome. It was a free show, but we passed it.
Yes. Work out sometime. Hey, hugs. Good to see ya.
How are you? Good morning.
So sorry I couldn't make it last night. It was just going to be too late at night.
It's okay because we were actually running the night. It didn't go on until like, I don't know, 8:30 or 2. But it was, this was,
That's sweet. I'll find out. I will.
well, you can find the videos are out there.
Artisan.
Oh, there will be many, many more. This is like an ongoing thing. So, yeah, we're trying to shoot Garland. So
my mouth, so when I stand on the box. So, okay. Well, as long as I know let me see if I can see the words.
Hello, Tess. Good morning. This is what it sounds like.
I've done my job. It's been good. Got some good sun today.
Well, I've talked to him more recently, so I don't need that. So that's great, but also everything that you guys do food is for this time.
We're casting a lot of L's, but at some point we're gonna turn those L's upside down and we're gonna stairs to the top. Yeah. I messed that up. Kind of get better.
I know, I think that would be so I don't want to have to like
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish you could get your back into something that's more exciting. You can tell her that for you.
Well, I'll put it this way. You did the best job of confidence. Yeah. She just has to spin it right. I think she can. She's a business tax attorney, started a number of small businesses. UUCA.
I mean, I have a tremendous amount of
Yeah. Absolutely. That combo is rare. For example, Biden seems to eat it that way, but he doesn't know politics really as well as she does. He doesn't prepare as well as she does. He just he just likes being the glad hand. Whereas Stacey kind of as well.
That is something that I can do. Right, my skill set.
Wow. Yeah. Like, me too, right? Certainly has some boundaries.
and where our culture has allowed them to.
And just turned on a dime. It's just so much bigger. At some point it was accepted and all of a sudden it's not. Hi, JJ. I'm doing good. How are you? I said hi. I didn't even ask how you were. Unsolicited information. Guys make me feel bad. Good to see everybody. Yeah, we sound pretty good. We can do that too. That's not a big scale from 1 to 10. I don't know. Don did it like, yeah, talk about it. Don really did it.
5 songs. Oh, nice. How was it met, man? Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
It's definitely on my list of songs to do. It's different. Like, they did it pretty well. I saw children's choir do it recently. They were amazing. They were like all like stomping. I'm something a little better with Hope and it's a cool song.
Your video that you create about school.
But then,
As long as the mic
I mean, this would be tall.
oh no, for you, not for you, for others.
Great.
Okay, so I've turned it to.
Is the mic? Thanks. Is the mic?
This way and not back.
Okay.
Called out.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. And the mic is picking me up.
Good morning. Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. We have a very exciting beginning of the service. So it says in your order of service, we're singing the hymn, Oh, We Give Thanks, and we are. We're just going to sing two hymns. We're going to sing, Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, and then we're going to sing, Come and go with me to that land, another hymn, and then we're going to sing them at the same time. So here you go. So the first time, we have some choir members who are going to come over and help. They're going to be very helpful. And so we're going to first sing, Oh, we give thanks, all together, this whole thing. And then we're going to sing it as a call and response. We're going to have, Oh, we give thanks, oh, we give thanks. Back and forth. That's going to happen. They're going to be very helpful right here. And then we're all going to sing, Come and go with me to that land. There'll be freedom in that land together. And after that, at the same time. So this part, we'll sing, Oh, we give thanks, and come and go with me to that land. It works, I promise. Please rise in body or in spirit. And maybe the weirdest music you'll hear on Sunday morning anywhere in Atlanta.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta, a beloved community that changes lives. I'm Kay Golan, and I'm so glad that you're here this morning. Wherever you're from and whomever you love, you are welcome. If this is your first time, or if you've not yet had a chance, please stop by our Welcome Center near the Quiet Room after the service to allow us to get to know you a little better. You can sign up to receive information about services and programs being presented over the next several weeks. After the second service at 12:30, we offer religious education classes for adults, and once again, take a look at the order of service for more information. I especially want to highlight our Inquirers class, which is great for people wanting to learn more about this faith community. It meets in room 1, right off the social hall. Today's gorgeous flower arrangement was donated by Eva Mitchell And we are so grateful to Eva for her generosity that has brought springtime beauty into our treehouse.
It smells really good, too.
Take a breath. Now is the time to register for the all-congregation retreat at the UU Mountain on April 26th through the 28th. Together, we will gather for workshops on writing your spiritual autobiography, guided wildflower hikes, a special eco-friendly workshop, a talent show, and so much more. For registration information and full list of activities, please visit the UUCA website. Today at 3, a group of UUCAers are going to a Gladiators hockey game. There are 6 tickets available for last-minute hockey enthusiasts. Please see Jack Pierce, who will have a table in the social hall with the affordable and very near to the front tickets. So join the fun. And now please be sure to take this moment to put your cell phone in its most reverent position. Once again, we are so glad you're here on this beautiful morning.
As we imagine peace between neighbors, where can we look for a model of being with each other? If we learn to trust nature, the whole queer, wondrous creation, what can that teach us about waging peace between neighbors? Imagine a new world, a new way of being together, a new strategy for organizing that is emerging before us, even now. What can the natural world teach us about deep trust, the care and attention to our neighbors on either side of us, about synchronicity and cohesion? Specifically, what do we have to learn from a murmuration of starlings? Waging peace during the crisis of our time requires an emergent strategy, as described by Adrienne Marie Brown, who also once gave a presentation titled Intersecting Worlds: the one we've got, the one we're building, and the ones we imagine. Imagine with me. I also want to honor and celebrate the beauty of our tablecloth here that holds our chalice, handmade by Sally Jerger over here, and celebrating the spring season. So we are so grateful for all the beauty in this sacred space. Won't you please now take a minute to turn to your neighbor and welcome them into this community with a handshake or a hug.
takes a whole village to raise our children. It takes a whole village to raise one child. We all, everyone, must share the burden. We all, everyone, will share the joy.
It takes a whole village to raise our children. It takes a whole village to raise one child. We all, everyone, must share the burden. We all, everyone, will share the joy.
That's just pure magic. Isn't that great? Our music meditation is a song by Ben Harper and the Blind Boys of Alabama called There Will Be a Light. Let me teach you the chorus before we sing it. It goes like this. There will be a light. There will be a light. Try it with me. There will be a light. There will be a light. That will happen many times. Now, for our community meditation, please settle in a little more comfortably. Close your eyes if you wish, and join us in singing, There Will Be a Light. 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 Let the warmth of our love dry away all of your tears. Fear not, for we are with you. And we will fear not with you here. There will be a light. There will be a light. There will be a light. There will be a light.
Let us put hands upon hearts and feel the warm connection. Let love in this moment flow. Say to yourself silently, I will love myself. I will love others, and that love will heal the world. And now the joys and sorrows of our beloved community. We send love and healing thoughts to Les McGuckin, who is in rehab following discharge from Piedmont Hospital this past Friday. At this time, he is not taking visitors' calls or emails. We send love and healing thoughts to Jane Mengel, who had foot surgery this past week and is recovering. We send our love across the ocean to people in Mozambique, Malawi, and Southern Africa, where communities struggle to recover from massive flooding. And we send our care, healing energy closer to home, to Nebraska and Iowa, people who are displaced by flooding in the middle of our country. We work and pray for generous and resilient policies and wealth division that help all people prepare for catastrophic climate change. At this time, I invite you to say out loud in your quiet voice the names of people you are holding in your heart this morning. as humans have gathered for millennia, so we gather on this day to gently surrender to something beyond ourselves, to humbly acknowledge our mistakes, to ask forgiveness, to seek hope and renewal, to honor the earth that supports and sustains life, and to remember that all beings are inextricably and mysteriously connected, to feel that connection. Now we still our bodies and we still our minds. We take in a big breath and we exhale. We relax into this space that our intentions make sacred. We enter into the wise silence.
There will be a light. 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 Let the warmth of our love magnify all of your bliss. Sing out, for we are with you. And together, gonna give our thanks for this. There will be a light. 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 There will be a light.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Letta Wu. I decided pretty young that church and religion were not for me. So I stumbled along and tried on my own to confront big questions about life and meaning. Fast forward to me meeting the love of my life who told me about Unitarian Universalism and their brief church attendance as a kid. Maybe I wasn't ready until that moment, but we decided to give it a try here in the fall of 2017, and I'm so glad we did. Here, I'm starting to explore a spiritual home and loving community, and leaving my comfort zone to find greater purpose. For me, that looked like volunteering as one of 3 adult mentors for YRUU. That's Young Religious Unitarian Universalists, which are the 9th to 12th graders. The experience has been both humbling and rewarding. I like to plan, and it's a valuable skill, but I learned that some of the most precious moments are unscripted and unexpected, even a little messy. I'm surprised by how the time I spend with the youth affects me, watching and trying to help them interact with each other, the ways they challenge and support each other in both silly and very serious conversations, seeing how they are all on their own paths to confront their own big questions, but they don't have to do it alone. The experience has changed me and my ideas about what is possible in this world and what is possible for me and all the ways we show up for ourselves and others. It can be so much bigger than I imagined. I'm so grateful for the children, youth, teachers, volunteers, and everyone involved with the religious education program. If you are feeling a nudge towards something bigger, I encourage you to volunteer. I'm so glad that I did. So please see me and others in the social hall after the service, where we are having our teacher recruitment fair. We'd love to talk with you about all of our religious education classes and programs. There are so many ways to be of service to our children, our families, and to our religious future.
The collection today that is not designated for your pledge will be given to Every Women Works. Every Women Works is a safe, therapeutic, and supportive environment where women who are homeless, recovering from alcohol and drug dependency, in transition from penal systems, recovering from domestic violence, living in poverty, will have an opportunity to develop solid, transferable work skills to strengthen their confidence and obtain financial independence. Since the beginning of the program in 2004, and with community support, Every Women Works has served over 1,000 women and 3,600 children. So in addition to the Give Away the Plate today, during the whole month of March, we honor Women's History Month by supporting these women in our community making history. They are taking back their lives and making history by getting back up again and fighting for not only themselves, but their children and their families. In addition to the Give Away the Plate today, please join us in donating one of the following items to make this fight a little easier. You may place these items in the black social justice bin over there on that side. For more information, you can also contact our social justice coordinator, Francella Pearman. The items that you can bring are toothpaste, toothbrushes, shampoo, soap or body wash, deodorant, and hair ties. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Concord,
It is a blessing that here in our congregation we can be both a refuge and a beacon at the same time. A refuge for youth who just want a place where they can be safe, to try out ideas with adults like Letta and so many others. And we can be a beacon for women in Atlanta who are working towards better lives, towards deeper wholeness, recovery in our community so they can thrive. May the light of this beacon shine bright and far in our community and in our world. Blessings on this gift.
And now please join me for the dedication of this offering, which is found in your order of service. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action we call community, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings.
You know you're a Unitarian Universalist minister when you see a flock of starlings and think, that'll preach. I've only visited Iowa once in my life, and it was there I had an ominous encounter with a murmuration of starlings that you saw earlier. Always vigilant to a nature wow encounter, I found myself so close to this murmuration in the dark winter sky that I ducked and I ran for cover, feeling more like Tippi Hedren in the Hitchcock horror than I felt like a brave and wondrous observer of nature. Their transformative power cannot be understated in real time. The way they duck and dive, completely leaderless, changing the sky, moving with purpose. The purpose is collective, and the movement, well, it's adaptive. We humans, Americans, tend not to move in this way. Either we form lines following a leader, or we move alone in isolated chaos, each towards our lonely, vanishing points. How can we expect peace with our neighbor if we move through our lives in this way, competing for land, for traffic patterns, for our own needs in a scarcity-based economy that denies the abundance of the world? What can we learn from the starlings? According to writer Adrienne Marie Brown, author of Emergent Strategy, the synchronized patterns of a starling flock are known as a murmuration. Guided by simple rules, she writes, starling murmurations can react to their environment as a group without a central leader orchestrating their choices. In any instant, any part of the flock can transform the movements of the entire flock. So what does the murmuration of starlings have to teach us about adaptability and collectivism? How can this make us more peaceful neighbors? Our days in the crisis of our time are marked by polarization. Maybe, like me, you find yourself bitterly laughing at the unfolding moral chasm of an absurdly cynical administration. We allow our anger to fuel our self-righteousness every day, and why not? You know, I agree with comedian Trevor Noah from The Daily Show, who believes that Trump is not the cause of white supremacist violence rapidly spreading throughout our world, even to the far reaches of New Zealand most recently. However, Trump is a product of white supremacy and ascribes to the same or similar belief system as the perpetrators of violent hate crimes across the globe. It's an international tragedy, and it takes effort not to wallow in disgust. And like me, I'm sure some of your neighbors voted for this person, and some of your friends, your family members, and they may vote again. If we are standing on two opposite sides of the same argument for dignity, safety, and justice for all people and for the survival of our earth, then how can peace between neighbors be possible? I have experienced the murmuration of starlings in a human systemic response to injustice. You can take the picture down, because that's not the picture of my experience of murmuration of starlings. So I think I understand what Brown is talking about when she speaks of biomimicry in movements, in justice movements, in a strategic response that follow effective patterns in nature, such as the starlings, or mycelium growth, mushrooms, fungus, or fern structures. I remember when Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson, Missouri, and then a few months later, Eric Garner died in a prominent street in Staten Island in a chokehold administered by the NYPD, members of the NYPD. In December that year, the grand jury failed to indict the officers complicit in Eric Garner's death. This was 2014, if you'll remember. And I was a second-year student at Union Theological Seminary on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, near Columbia. I remember the mass die-ins we quickly organized outside the seminary right on Broadway, lying in the pavement in silence, holding hands as the car horns blared and journalists aimed their cameras at our faces. Suddenly, protests sprang up all across the city, and Union students were getting jailed overnight, terrified and determined to take a stand for an end to the brutal police murders of unarmed people of color in our streets. Tensions were high, and each day at our noon chapel, we sang spirituals through tears of outrage. In those days, the classroom became more of a battlefield of ideas. A group of students took over one prominent classroom in the center of campus, and someone brought in a rotary telephone, a lamp, and a cot. We offered chaplaincy and 24-hour support to students who were going off to protest. And in this 1 week, in December, in early December, you have to understand, there were sit-ins, marches, and die-ins each day and each night, and mostly all night. Someone brought in more cots for people to sleep who were on call for protesters coming back to campus, needing pastoral care after clashes with police or counter-protesters. Slowly, the furniture in the room began to transform altogether. The tables and chairs used for classrooms were taken to some other place, and people began bringing in cushions, beanbags, yoga mats. There was a brief kerfuffle as the administration attempted to push back on what was springing up, claiming the need for classroom space, but they quickly caved to the growing momentum and the students' experience of praxis. A classroom had transformed into a ministry. Someone hung a huge banner declaring the space the hub. And then more huge posters arrived with the names of all the Black people who had been killed in police custody that year and prior years. We recognize their names now as part of the impetus for the Black Lives Matter movement. But this was the infancy of the movement, at least in New York City. As the police and politicians waited for our collective energy to wane, we burrowed into this growing movement even more deeply. People began to bring in home-cooked food to serve to anyone in the hub each day, mostly for lunch. And we began to hold teach-ins in the hub space. Without clear leaders or organizers, the space was a hub of bold action with very little debate or discussion. And let me assure you, these were people who were used to talking. In this leaderless space, the vibes were good. It was just action and doing. We felt like these starlings must feel, swooping in, taking up all the space with our forward movement, casting our vision like a net of so many birds in the sky, taking shape together, which is not to say there was always peace between neighbors in the hub. I remember one particular teach-in when a white man in his 20s excoriated many of us for going home at the end of the day, for not risking our safety and our livelihoods and getting arrested, for having different methods and approaches within the same social action movement. Many of the people who organized the hub space were women of color, African American, Latinx women in their middle age with children and families. All of us heard him, And then a few of these women invited him to stay in the hub and to be quiet for a time. A number of people shared how his words made them feel as though their contribution was less than his, inferior, and their ideas were less worthy than his because they were different. He listened to the impact of his words. I think over 7 people responded to him, and after a long while, he quietly responded, "Thank you. I think I understand." He was different after that in the hub, a bit quieter and thoughtful, and he developed this attractive sheen of humility that guided his words and actions. He was no longer a leader, but he became quite beloved by the entire community following that hub experience. The capstone of the hub was when our professor, Dr. James Cohn, wanted to hold his class in the collective space with people standing or sitting on yoga mats or cushions or wherever they were because he felt the moment was historic. And this is where justice was happening in real time. Now, looking back on this experience of the hub, well, I agree it was historic also. But it was hard to tell while you were in it, while you were one with all the other people moving collectively, taking action. The strategy that is emergent, according to Brown, looks like the hub at Union Theological Seminary in the winter of 2014. Could we at UUCA become a murmuration of starlings? Could we make a serious impact on healing the wound of poverty in Atlanta? What happens when we let go and join a flock? What fears keep us from doing so? That our uniqueness will no longer be celebrated? Or that people might do things their way and not my way? We all wrestle with our longing to be more virtuous, but what does that even look like as the needle on our moral compass is rendered haywire and off the charts by the glowing global atrocities springing up like the great mycelium fungus, insidious and cunning? There are negative examples of biomimicry, too. In her recent piece in Time magazine, Atlanta writer Tayari Jones questions the fallacy of the moral middle in times such as these. The middle is a point equidistant from 2 poles, she writes. That's it. There is nothing inherently virtuous about being neither here nor there. Buried in this is a false equivalency of ideas, what you might call the good people on both sides phenomenon. When we revisit our shameful past, ask yourself, where was the middle then? Rather than chattel slavery, perhaps we could agree on a nice program of indentured servitude? Instead of subjecting Japanese American citizens to indefinite detention in World War II, what if we had agreed to give them actual sentences and perhaps provided them a receipt to reclaim their things when they were released? What is halfway between moral and immoral? Tayari Jones writes, the search for the middle is rooted in conflict avoidance and denial. For many Americans, it is painful to understand that there are citizens of our community who are deeply racist, sexist, homophobic, and xenophobic. Certainly, they reason this current moment is somehow a complicated misunderstanding. Perhaps there is some way to look at this, a view from the middle, that would allow us to communicate and just realize that our national identity is the tie that will bind us comfortably and with a bow. The headlines that lament a divided America suggest that the fact that we can't get along is more significant than the issues over which we are sparring. This is what Tayari Jones has to tell us. Waging peace does not look like the American melting pot, all of us getting along in a blur of allegiance to getting along. It's important not to conflate neighborliness and peacemaking, which I hold up as religious virtues, with political activism, which is not religious. I don't know if anybody read Rebecca Traister's fabulous interview with Stacey Abrams in the most recent issue of New York Magazine. Abrams' perspective aligns with Tayari Jones' ideas about working with people with whom you share a basic moral intuition. As part of her decades-long project to assume high office, Stacey Abrams carefully studied the history of the Democratic Party in the South. She became convinced that Democrats have spent too much time focusing on middle-of-the-road or even right-leaning voters at the expense of others. When you go after someone who has a deep ideological belief set that is contradictory to your own, well, that is conversion, Abrams says. Conversion is so hard, it is miraculous. We have entire religions built around the idea of conversion. Politics is not a religion, it's about persuasion. And Abrams believes that persuasion works best on those who are predisposed to share democratic values, which still does not mean it is easy. But it's people who have a moral intuition that can align with your own. We can find a way to love our neighbor while honoring the personal and real casualties of our political and cultural wars taking place in these times. One way to wage peace between neighbors is to be brutally hard on your own opinions. Fully examine them. Test them. One of the most formative experiences of my life was a friendship I shared with another student in my small clinical pastoral education class in the summer of 2013. This is shortly before, this is after Occupy Wall Street and before Black Lives Matter. It was an intense time in New York City in these days. But this man was a young white man in his early 30s, recently converted to Eastern Orthodox. He was whip smart and charismatic. He was one of the most simultaneously fascinating and frustrating people I have ever known. It seemed like we hardly spent any time in pseudo-community or small talk. We just dove right into opening up our deepest selves. About halfway through the 8-week course, we were arguing about abortion. I'm not sure who introduced the topic. Probably it was our professor, a consummate instigator. That's how she saw her role. Our small group had bonded quickly and well, and just as suddenly we drew our battle lines and jumped on either side. Each afternoon, after class, he and I met for hours to discuss it further. The more we argued, the more we argued. I do remember a moment of profound humility when I knew I was reaching for the upper hand more than I was reaching towards him. Well, I harumphed at him, for me, it's a human rights issue. Don't you see, he replied, it is also a human rights issue for me, too. I fell deep into the well of my own opinion, and I came out of the rabbit hole with my perspective more courageously defined, don't you worry, and more widely applied, but just as importantly, I came to respect his moral intuition. Though I found his facts misguided, I felt like I could love his conservative heart because I found it moral. I had never wondered what it would be like to befriend an Eastern Orthodox priest under the age of 35, but I found out. My heart rages that we are holding small children in captivity along our borders, in overcrowded detention centers under inhumane conditions. Most days, I can never answer fine when someone asks me how I am because I know our legislatures are voting to arm teachers rather than regulate firearms. Heck, as a white cisgender person, I am not nearly the most terrorized, and I'm still not fine. But wherever we can make peace, we must try. Our Unitarian Universalist faith calls us to practice justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, which does not mean we sacrifice compassion for those humans who are not directly our neighbors. Making peace with neighbors is holy and difficult work, and we must attempt to do it. My commitment to my Eastern Orthodox friend is the same commitment we make to each other here in our congregation, to stay in relationship. Above all, I believe he and I could have spent years in a debate, but our shared moral intuition kept us connected to a primary commitment that we hold as Unitarian Universalists. We know we belong to each other, and we must do the hard work of examining our own opinions and finding that moral thread linking us to our neighbor. Our culture is at war now, even as many of our nations are at war. To wage peace is to seek a moral intuition in someone's position, to draw that out once you've found it, and to surrender to the collective wisdom like a murmuration of starlings, staying open and curious to the adaptations we will need to survive these times. Many of the writers who I love and who I read when preparing this sermon, well, they are disciples of the science fiction Black woman writer Octavia Butler, who writes, "All that you touch, you change. And all that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change." Remembering the powerful flight of the starlings in that dark Iowa sky, I long to join with you in murmuration, becoming powerfully the change we wish to see in this world. May it be so. Amen.
From the light
Stay standing if you're able and join hands for the benediction. Now, move your neighbor. That's the only direction I've given. No leader. You look beautiful. Do you feel the gentle sway of your motion, not colliding with, but joining the motion of the person next to you? This is how we can be like the murmuration, powerful, emergent, strategic, feeling the flow. Find a way to connect with this moment and this flow as you go out into your day and into the world. Go in peace. Blessed be.